What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Monday, July 8th. We back. Happy 4th of July. Did you have a great 4th, Weston?
No, I didn't actually. My youngest was home all week with hand, foot, and mouth, otherwise known as Coxsackie disease. And when you have that running through your house, you're treated like a leper. Nobody wants to be around you. Nobody wants to deal with you. So that's what we dealt with, but we made the best of a situation. So time off, time spent with the family, all good. I'm just tired from the first of all, it's Monday and I'm super excited. It's my favorite day of the week. It's Monday with Steph, but I've also just literally just got out of the pool chasing a bunch of kids, and God, they have energy that I just don't understand. I'm like, God, I need a nap right now.
So I assume your son's doing better.
Oh, yes. Back in daycare today. That's all we cared about.
Good. All right. Well, sorry you had to deal with that, Weston. Hopefully he's still got a chance to see some fireworks as well. And see that. Yeah, I was out in the Bay for the weekend, and that was great. It's also great to be back and doing this show as well. So yeah, thank you for everyone tuning in so far. Appreciate it. I thought it'd be a bit of a slow day, but yeah, Kenny said his notifications are working. Good to see that some of you have notifications for 49 Carats. Yeah, if you want to be notified when we go live, that is the way to do it. All right. Well, let's just get right into the topics today, Weston, because oh god, it's like Brandon Ayuk knows when we do shows, so he puts something out for us. I mean, at this point, I just have to believe that's the case. The latest thing, he posted a TikTok on a day ago, so this came out Sunday or maybe late Saturday, I assume. And it's pretty much a montage of several pictures, right? Which you could do on TikTok, and there's music playing in the background. Well, what made a lot of 49er fans and just fans all across the NFL, gave him pause was the fact that he posted this image, which appears very much to be, which is Washington Commanders film. And this is from practice. Like, you can literally see it's practice film from June 11th of this year. And this is so strange. Obviously, Jaden Daniels at quarterback. I understand they're friends. This is so weird to me, Weston, because I'm just like, how does this not spur like a tampering investigation or just some sort of investigation? Because like, if I'm the Commanders, I'm wondering how Brennan Ayuk like even got a hold of our film. Or if I'm the 49ers, I'm also wondering how Brandon Ayuk got a hold of Commander's film. Like that just seems weird. Feels like a big conflict of interest. In the grand scheme of things, I understand it's probably not that big of a deal. Like we've been saying this whole time, Brandon Ayuk can't exactly force his way out. Like he can ask for a trade. The 49ers don't have to grant it. So that makes this all kind of like, okay, what are we doing this for? But I mean, what was your reaction to this?
First of all, if your father's listening, can you let him know that I poured this drink specifically for him? This is how I had to come back to another Monday talking about this number 11 all over again. I don't even want to say his name anymore. But the reality is like, hey, this is so bizarre. This is so weird. You mentioned terms like tampering. You mentioned things like that. And it's just like, Jaden Daniels, what are you doing? Brandon Ayuk is not at your practice. He is not at the eye in the sky. You're sitting in a film room analyzing. You're like, I know what I'll do. I'll send screenshots of this to my buddy. Like, how does that feel like valuable use of your time acclimating yourself to this league in your first season, probably as the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders? And then the other side of me is what I've been saying this whole time, Steph, is BA, you can show whatever you want. You have no control over this. Like, you are not going to Washington unless, look, are the Commanders a likely outlet? Yeah, maybe, because Brandon probably wouldn't resist going there if it was talked about. And then with the connection with Adam Peters and his time spent here with, in this front office, I get it. It opens the door to conversation. But in this is not the NBA. You don't get to choose what team you go to. And, if I'd be less pissed off about this. Like, to me, it's just stupid at this point. Like, it's just like, I don't have another word for it. It's dumb. It's obnoxious. I don't know how else to explain it, but like, hey, if Washington was on the schedule this year, I'd say, BA, keep getting more formations and what they're lining up in. But like,
Right.
this does nobody. This antic to me does more harm than good on both sides of the equation here. It's all fun and games with Jaden and BA. Like, I know your buddies, I know the relationship, and like that's all fun. Like we laugh about a lot of this, but this is super bizarre. Like, there's consequences to this. There has to be consequences to this, even if it's just a fine behind the scenes from the Commanders to Jaden Daniels saying, "What the hell are you doing?" Like, this doesn't get leaked out. This is not an open media practice, right? Like, how did this get out in the world? It just feels weird. It feels childish, and it feels like last stitch effort from BA and camp, like just trying to create some noise. Like, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's just very weird. Like, if I was Jaden Daniels, which obviously, like, that seems like the obvious connection to all of this, and his connection to the Commanders and how he would end up with this, I wouldn't I don't know how I'd feel. Like, I'd be pissed because, like, Jaden Daniels can get in trouble for this. Like, I mean, and I'm surprised actually that I haven't seen enough people kind of mention this with the word investigation. That's what I'm saying. Like, there has to be some investigation that goes on with this, and maybe it just hasn't really caught a lot of attention outside of 49ers and Washington Commanders fans, but yeah, this is weird. And I saw someone say after this, like, they tweeted out, yeah, I think Brennan Ayuk's antics have officially surpassed that of Debo Samuel's his off season, which is funny because like the previous week, I don't know if it was with you, Weston, or if it was with Desi, but I was literally just having this conversation of, yeah, I don't think it's gotten to that point yet, all this and that. And like now we are getting to that point where it's like, all right, enough. Enough. This is too much. I understand like from what Brandon Ayuk is trying to do, but I don't think this is how you do it. Like, to in my opinion, I'm not seeing the vision on this. And yeah, it could do more harm than good, not just for the teams involved, but himself. Which like I just yeah, this one didn't make a lot of sense to me.
It
It's weird.
it's it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not like, again, I've been supportive of BA like doing what he's doing. It's the only thing he can do to like cast a light and create attention and create a buzz around him and try to induce some sort of fear from the San Francisco 49ers. What I'm over, and I'd be fine if he continued to do that, because here's the reality. We're still 23 days away, more than 3 weeks away from when Debo actually inked his contract at this time during his off in 2022, right? Like in the summer of 2022. So we still have time here in terms of like 49ers timeline as to when they tend to get things done. I am just over the constant barrage of Washington Commander content. I am not a Washington Commander fan. I don't need to see any more about their team and about their roster and about their quarterback, who, by the way, let's all still keep in mind, has accomplished nothing at the NFL level as of yet. He will be, I think he'll be rather successful. But all that being said, there's just a lot of hype around a move that's not going to take place. And I still think this is, I don't know if BA consulted with anybody in his camp prior to doing this, because I think they probably would have been like, dude, this is where we might need to like draw the line, because the NFL is still comprised of humans, and humans are spiteful by nature. And if you continue to put the commander specific content in front of the 49ers, they'll just be like, dude, F you. I'll trade you to any other team in the league. It ain't going to be that team. You know what I mean? Just to like, it doesn't make like 49ers, if they needed to trade BA, they're not. I don't think that's happened. Like, I just think this is just continuing to pile up until they get it worked out. But you're not trading a guy like that in conference. You're going to do everything in your power to keep him out, right? Like, you don't want to see him. You don't want the revenge games and all that stuff. Like, I don't know. I am so perplexed around the constant, like, is Jaden Daniels your only friend in the NFL, Brand? Like, I don't understand. Like, there's not enough. Hit me with another team on TikTok next week, and we can have an entirely different conversation. But I'm
Yeah,
over Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders.
he's really, really leaning into that friendship right now, just for I assume the obvious reasons. And
I
another
love that.
thing that he showed in that photo montage on his TikTok was Jaden Daniels Heisman Trophy. Like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this information? Like, okay, I get it. We get it. You're friends. Debster in the comments says, if he's trying to get on the fans' bad side, he's doing a great job. This is the other part of it that I want to discuss, Weston, because it kind of feels like with each social media post that Brandon Ayuk does, one like the next one is worse than the previous. It seems like I'm just seeing a lot of fans now turn on the player. And we've seen this before. I mean, we saw it in that offseason with Debo Samuel as well. Like people were just fed up with the antics that they were seeing. And I'm always torn on this issue because like it's like I know that the player deserves to get paid and they deserve to create leverage any way they feel is necessary, right? But I also like I get frustrated too, even just watching this unfold. Like, and I know players are frustrated. This is their only outlet, I guess, in these times. But yeah, I mean, it gets to a point where fans get frustrated and start to say again like I'm saying right now like enough, like I am tired about talking about this.
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing each post be worse than the last, you know what I mean? Is so it's I'm torn about how this issue is all playing out. I don't even know what I want to have happen at this point, just because I'm so frustrated. And like you see some of these other comments that have been in this live chat saying like just trade him. Like I don't even care at this
I
point.
know.
And if you saw the comments that were on the TikTok post, it's like just go and be Washington Commander already. It's like go just trade him all this. So like it's reached a point where fans are now, getting fed up.
Yeah. And I get it. I get the frustration. Like, we all have hit frustration points in all of these contract negotiations. Some's with the players, some with the teams. For those who are quick to say just trade them because you want to be rid yourself of the drama, I understand. I empathize with that. The reality, though, is if you are a fan of this team, the goal every season for this franchise is to compete for the Super Bowl. You are more likely to do that with Brandon Ayuk on your team than not. I understand this feels like a distraction, and BA feels like he's being, or like we feel like he's just deterring from everything else that's going on the team because this is a focal point of offseason discussions. It'll all go away. He's not a distraction, right? Like, he'll be very happy when he signs his $29 million a year contract. That's probably what it's going to be for however much guaranteed. And he won't be a squeaky wheel anymore, and he won't want to get out of here. It's going to get a little hairy if he's playing on the 5th-year option. I won't lie about that. But if the 49ers are able to iron that out, I think they'll be fine. BA's not that kind of guy. Listen, let's keep in mind, like, we follow professional athletes. And yes, we're called fans, which is short for fanatical. So we have crazy takes from time to time. It's fine. But the truth is, like, BA has never been in the news for the wrong reasons, right? Like, you haven't seen a DUI, performance enhancement drugs. He's never put his hands on his significant other, his partner, or his child, or anything along those lines. So I'm not sour on BA, the player, the person. I understand. Steph, I told you a couple of weeks ago, I quit my job, right? Enjoying my summer. Accepted a new one recently. Don't start till August, but I'm
Nice,
not going to lie.
congrats.
Thank you. But I'm not going to lie. The reason for the story is the contract negotiation. Like, it got a little hairy. These things happen, right? It's my money. It's their money. I get all of that. I just went through this myself. So if I'm going to shit on BA, I probably should be shitting on myself too, because I wasn't putting TikTok videos of like another company and what they were doing, but you get what I'm talking about, right? So
Yeah.
like my caution to 49er fans is I understand your frustration. Keep it. I get it, right? You care about this team. You want it to be wrapped up and done, and you're already looking forward to training camp and preseason games, etc. But like, BA's not that guy that you really need to sour on. He's just in a period of time that is a short window where he needs to be selfish. That's it. And I'm not supportive of his antics. I'm understanding of them, except this one. I hate this constant barrage on the Washington Commanders. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think people lose sight of the fact that these are humans trying to get more money out of their job because their job would rather pay them the least amount. I mean, we all have to deal with that at some point in our lives. Maybe not in millions, or obviously my job is not looking to pay me millions or anything like that at any point, but you get what we're saying here. And so that's really all Brennan Ayuk is trying to do. Now I understand, like, don't bite the hand that feeds you either. I mean, you've mentioned that here, Weston, as well. So he has to be careful, I think, with how far he's willing to take this, because I do think there is probably a point in which the 49ers, just like maybe some fans out there, would say, all right, that's enough, and that's
Yeah.
not cool, and you just lost some points with us, kind of thing. So
Totally. And they're right. There's a comment on here, Steph, about like putting a practice video on the internet. Yes, he
that
did.
is
We
that is pretty
said
bad.
that's bad, but guess what? He didn't put the 49ers practice video on the internet. He put video clips or screenshots of video that was sent and shared to him. So the problem on where I'm confused on this is his mindset to say, I'm going to publicize this and I'm going to use this. But he didn't necessarily go get those videos. They were obviously shared with him. So I'm not shaming him. Like, it's not like he was in the 49ers film room cutting up video and being like, I'm going to put this out there. So I look at this differently. But to me, what Jaden Daniels did, and BA's a little culpable in this too for sharing it, is like, why have we not even heard the term Spygate at this point, right? Like in terms of like what Belichick and they did in New England. I'm going to agree with Jason. I do not care for this particular antic, but I am very understanding of what BA is going through and how he's approaching it. And he's just doing what he can do, and that's okay that it frustrates us. Like I'm not sitting here trying to be high and almighty. Like I'm not frustrated. I'm just not souring on the person and his contribution to our team. That's the way I look at
Yeah, and I do wanna clarify on that point as
it.
well, that it
Yeah.
wasn't an actual video that he posted
Yeah.
of, the film. Like, it wasn't like a video, it was a screenshot of him clearly watching a video, what I could assume was a video of film of the Commanders' practice. So, it's not like, yeah, he didn't put out Commanders' film for everyone else to watch, but it looked like he was, watching it himself. And how he got that film is like, obviously you can make the connection. If I'm the Commanders, I'd want to investigate that. Like, I don't think the 49ers are like caring it really so much, but yeah, I would just be wondering, because yeah, if my new quarterback was just out willy-nilly sharing some of our film, I'd be a little upset. That's all. So
Brock
yeah,
Purdy would never. That's
my
all
QB
we know.
would do that.
Would
My QB,
never.
but but anyway, I'm over this topic. I mean, every week we have something to talk about, and it's like, dude, I obviously, as a content creator, it's nice to have something to talk about, but I am so over talking about Brandon Ayuk, man. Like, and I just, because I want a resolution. I want something to happen. I just want to
Totally.
put this behind us. It's not that I'm like I want to move on from Brandon Ayuk. It's just that, like, I want to move on from this topic. Period. So let's just get to the next topic here, that I wanted to talk about. So, to Sean Gibson, as you know, some of you may have seen, last week it was announced that he was suspended for use of performance enhancing drugs. He was suspended the first 6 games of the season. Now, I think, like, when we first saw that news come out, it's like, okay, one, that's not great for the 49ers, because in my mind, I was thinking he'd be a pretty good option for the 49ers if they felt like Talanoa Hufanga wasn't going to be ready week 1, which I still think is, completely in the realm of possibility. And then two, he's pretty up there in age, right? And he's had a pretty long career. Will this mean that he eventually retires? Now, Deshaun Gibson has spoken and he put out a statement. And part of that statement, he said this quote, "It is with great disappointment that I accept this suspension, and I do so knowing that I have never even attempted to cheat the game. I look forward to return for my 13th NFL season and helping a team compete for a championship." End quote. So, I mean, for Gibson, this kind of sets up perfectly because he's a veteran. He's at that age where like he doesn't need to go through the whole camp thing. He doesn't need to prove himself. Like he literally could just sign with any team that's needing of a safety, a veteran safety late into the season. And who knows? Maybe the 49ers could be one of those teams, but this makes the intention clear. Deshaun Gibson does not plan to retire. He is going to be playing this season if the opportunity does present himself, and a team would want to sign him. Now, would you bring back Deshaun Gibson at that point, 6 weeks after his suspension? By that point, I would expect not Deshaun Gibson. I would expect Talanoa Funga to be back and maybe even closer to his normal self, right? So, assuming that every one of the safeties for the 49ers are healthy at week 6, week 7, like would you still look to bring Deshaun Gibson back, or is that just being a little too greedy?
I 100% would, and I would hope those PEDs are still flowing through his blood, even though he's off it. I mean,
Come on
like,
now.
listen, I'm going to be very upfront and honest here, and it might be, I don't want to say offensive, but it'll be disagreed with. These players know what they're doing. They know what they're putting in their body, and they make a lot of money, and they hire really expensive doctors that are on cutting edge, that are like, nobody's going to detect this. They don't have a test for it yet. They are 3 steps ahead of the NFL drug testing policy. But every once in a while, it catches back up with them. And this is the instance. It's with great disappointment that I accept this suspension. Accept it? You did it, dude. You know what I mean? Like, this is literally coming out saying,
He's not appealing,
yeah, like,
basically.
hey, my bad, my bad. Well, there's no point of appealing in the NFL anyway because they just retest the sample that was tainted in the first place. They just send it to a different lab, so they don't even let you like redo it. So the kind of chips are stacked against you anyway. It's gonna result have the same result. But to your question, Steph, like, yeah, like, assuming even if they're 100% healthy at the safety position, like, if you're making the only way you bring Deshaun Gibson back is if you're competing, right? Like, and you're, getting closer to, you feel confident that you're going to be part of a playoff push. Like, you want that veteran who's been there with you, even if he doesn't step on the field, he's still going to have a special teams contribution. He's still going to have something. And he's played arguably his best football in a San Francisco 49er uniform over the last 2 seasons. I honestly thought that they would look to, maybe they knew this was coming, right? Like, I thought they were going to look to potentially bring him back on the cheap as a
Yeah.
veteran, etc. But like, so instead of me rambling, the short answer is, yeah, if we're 6-8 weeks into the season, he's not on anybody else's roster, and he's coming off the suspension, and you're making a push. Yeah, because there's a lot of what ifs. Is Huff going to be healthy and playing well? Is Malik Mustafa, is he what he's built, what we all hope he's going to be, especially in his rookie season? Is Jair Brown going to be that guy in his second NFL season? Like, there's a lot of youth and a lot of NFL inexperience that you're hitching your wagon to in your safety, in the safety group. So of course, without hesitation, if he's on the market, his suspension has been served, he looks like he's in shape, come try to make my 53, man, or I'll stash you on the practice squad for when that injury comes, like, without hesitation, because at that point in the season, you're getting them on the cheap too. You're not paying a full season's
Yeah.
contract, right? So you're talking about 1.5, maybe $2 million for the year in terms of positional value. I'm all over it.
Yeah, and I think Gibson would be open to coming back too. I think he would have probably signed with the 49ers to start this season had it not been for the suspension, and the 49ers probably sign him, couple weeks into training camp, right? So yeah, I think it's definitely in the cards, even with the suspension. After, of course, the suspension, I think they would still be crossing their T's and dotting their I's in terms of their roster. Now, it could very well be that they have injuries to attend to at the safety position. I hope not, but these things happen, and definitely they'll be jumping at it. Now, let's just say Hufunga's healthy. You got Jair Brown as well. Jair Brown looks good. If all looks good, I could see them passing just because I do feel like they are stubborn a little bit, and they wait till they need something to go out and look for it. I don't see them as a type of team as that's like we might need a safety, so let's just sign Deshaun Gibson now, right? So I don't see that, but yeah,
Just
I think if the opportunity does present itself, I think both sides would definitely be open to a reunion.
I would tell you, I would say this. Keep your eye on this situation. Not even for the 49ers. Just monitor Tashawn Gibson because he's going to be playing in the NFL playoffs in 2024, 2025. That's exactly this is
Absolutely.
almost like a veteran move. Like, you know what? Let me test positive. I get to hang out for a little while.
Smart
And then a
man.
and then a team's gonna come latch on to me who's making a move that needs a little bit of depth or had a serious injury because I'm still confident I can play this game. He will be on a playoff bound team this season. Hopefully it's the 40. Well, hopefully it's not the 49ers because then that means we have a lot of confidence and good play coming from the safety position, but he will be on a playoff team this year.
Yep. And guy in the comments says, I need to see Huff break down and tackle and pop back up. Have to see it. Yeah, I mean, that's hopefully something 49ers can gather some information on pretty early in the season. I mean, they'll have a idea hopefully around camp about where he's at with his recovery. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about I mean, I could see them going into the season with Jair Brown and George Odom. George Odom because he's the veteran, but like I don't know how great you feel about them being like the starters right off the bat. Jair Brown, I love. I think he'd be fine, but as far as the other guy, like George Odom, I'm not as convinced about being able to keep the secondary at a high level. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I've even floated the idea in another show that, you know, the 49ers, if Deshaun Gibson isn't available, obviously, the start of the season, they can look out and bring another veteran safety if they wish. I definitely still think that's in the cards, but it could be Justin Simmons. I don't know. That's just he's still available too, and probably waiting to sign with the team. So it would not surprise me if camp starts and they're kind of seeing where Hufunga's at, and it's like, ooh, he's not going to be available in the first few weeks of the season. Let's bring in a veteran. I think that's still in the cards.
And I don't, yeah, it's 100% in the cards. This is a team that I showed you on multiple occasions that they're not afraid to make the in season move that they think is going to put them over the hump. We saw it with Emmanuel Sanders in 2019. We saw it with Christian McCaffrey in 2022, right? Like they will make a push if they then was it 2022? Yeah, 2022, right? Like the 2022 season. Yeah, because 2023 just sorry. I just getting years confused, but they'll make a play if they need to. But if I'm being suggestive here, I think because of like I think Jair Brown is slated into one of these spots, right? He started for you
Yeah,
in the Super
absolutely.
Bowl. He's playing, right? Like you keep that going. I think if there's any hesitation around where Huff is in his recovery, you do not hesitate and you put Mustafa in and you find a way because early in the season, you throw him to the Wolves. You find out if this guy can play and if he can adapt and how he looks like week to week if he's showing growth because you can recover from an 0-1 start, a 1-2 start, right? A 2-4 start. You can recover from that. But that experience is so valuable versus like, let's start with
Yeah.
George Odom and hope that Malik Mustafa outplays him in practice when we know twos ain't getting reps, right? Like during the week, there's limited reps to be had and be earned. So I would love to see it be Brown and Mustafa out there if there's any hesitation around where Huff is in terms of recovery.
Yeah, I mean, if Mustafa's a quick learner, I mean, absolutely, he could very well earn some extra reps. I mean, that's how it was for Jair Brown. Like
Yep.
they weren't planning on Jair Brown, starting in his rookie season. The opportunity came up, and I mean, he showed that he was worthy of getting more snaps. I know there was a bit of a snafu with him, kind of late in the season, and he kind of had to earn his spot back. But I mean, we saw what he was able to do towards the end of the season, playoffs, once he got back on the field, Super Bowl, of course. So I'm excited for Jair Brown, and who knows? Yeah, Mustafa could have a similar trajectory in his rookie year as well. So definitely open to that too. Now, before we get out of here, again, it's maybe a bit of a shorter show today just because we don't have that much to talk about. It's off season and all that. But Weston, I understand you had something that you kind of saw on social media unfolding, not Brandon Ayuk related. Just want to make that very clear. We're not going back into Brandon Ayuk, but something having to do with like social media and just something you wanted to talk about. So let people know what that was.
Yeah, I don't know how to lead into it and present it. Is actually I'll credit my wife with this stuff. You know, she kind of brought. I wasn't paying any mind. I wasn't paying attention, and it comes across like her sites, and she brought it to my attention. And the more I got lost in this, like the more angry I was actually becoming. And to summarize it, it's really is just like how nasty fans and social media in this era that we can be as individuals. Like you kind of alluded to it earlier about like, is the fan base turning on Brandon Ayuk, right? And we're all
Yeah.
quick to say, yeah, like of course they are. But for me, it's around Christian McCaffrey's recent wedding with Olivia Culpo, and specifically how some social media outlets, and especially like some, I don't know how, like premier blogger, if you will, in like more of her world, have been just downright nasty and brutal and like attacking her from an image perspective, like just shaming her around. And I know it's crazy. This is an NFL based podcast. I promise I'll bring it back to the NFL in a second. But just shaming this woman on her wedding day of all days, and just critiquing her dress choices, her makeup choices or lack thereof, right? And how they just blasting this poor woman from their basement, mind you, right? Like, and where they're doing it and how they're doing it and whatnot. And for me, I just have a problem with this. First of all, Christian McCaffrey, stand up, man, take a bow, like forget everything you do on the field, being the dynamite husband that you are, and new to this game, right? New to the husband game. As a veteran here, I can tell you, we, sir, are appreciative of standing up for your wife, right? And realizing that like some of those people are like fan base as well, right? And they might turn on you for that. So it takes a lot of, a lot of self-esteem and backbone to do that. But like things around Olivia, when you're talking about like critiquing her dress choice, like hold up a friggin' minute. This is her wedding. I don't care if she wants to come
Yeah.
down the aisle in sweatpants, right? Like that is your day, your choice. Shaming that she didn't wear the right makeup or the makeup, whatever. Like, hold on a second. Like, weren't we a society that used to shame women for overdoing makeup and doing those things and reminding them how beautiful they are as they are, etc.? And now you want to poo-poo on this woman because she went all natural and beauty to her. By the way, this is Miss Freaking Universe, right?
Yeah.
Like, slow down a second. You know what I mean? This is probably someone who doesn't need to be relying upon that. And oh, by the way, has been in the pageant world her entire life, has probably worn every dress, every bikini, everything that you can ever imagine to put her body out there, because that's what these competitions entail. Again, let me rephrase this. Miss Universe, the world that we know it. She was the cream of the crop, whatever year it was, don't matter. Got to be somebody to win that. And we're shitting on her. Like, honestly, people, get a life, be realistic here. Like, it makes me mad. Like, it really like just boils me when I go down this path like that. Like, who gives these people the torch to say, you are the holder of the opinion of this person on their wedding day? Like, let me be very mindful. Olivia Culpo did not approach Vogue magazine and say, take care of my wedding. They knew that that wedding was happening and said, we want to be there. And just good on her for standing up for herself and for Christian McCaffrey to be there. I've never been more proud, like, to have that guy. Like, we talk about people we do want to root for on our team. That guy right there, like, forget his play. I don't care if he ever stepped on the field. To see that publicly, stand up for his wife, like, that's my guy. That is my guy. He should be all of your guys, and I'm just tired of it. And Steph, like, I just feel like you probably have a unique opinion on this subject matter as well. Someone who has fought and clawed to get where they are in their profession with no doors opened, right? Like, you had to kick through everyone, and you probably more so than others had to deal with comments that probably made you feel similar to the way that Olivia. I just felt like this was a good forum to have this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to point out that like everyone's gonna have an opinion.
Of
Like
course, of course,
that's
of course.
normal. And I think like on Wednesday, my show with Desi, we talked about the wedding, we talked about the dresses, and I was like, like I'm not in love with this dress. Like I didn't love it. But like I'm not on her page and I'm not saying these like nasty things because like that's there for her to read. I am not, I wouldn't even say those things to her face. Like it, and that's the thing, right? Social media emboldens people to feel like they could just say whatever they want. When in actuality, you wouldn't actually say that to a person's face because
Ever.
you know how that feels to people because everyone has had something, not nice said to them, and it's not a great feeling. So I wouldn't do that to someone else. So yeah, it's nasty. I mean, social media, there's just so much of that going on. And, I've seen some people saying as well, in the comments, women are jealous. Women are jealous. Men are jealous too. It's not just a woman thing because I can show you, like, again, we were talking about Brendan Ayuk and all the nasty things that people are saying about him right now. And that's coming from men, like saying some mean stuff. So it's not just women, it's and we need to get that out of our heads too. But yeah, I mean, obviously people can be cruel, and I'm just glad, like you said, that they've kind of spoken up about it. And Christian being the guy that he is, defending his wife and all that. So it's been great to see that, obviously they're used to being in the public eye, and that comes with getting used to people saying,
Of course.
shitty things about you, and that sucks that you
It,
have to get used to it, right?
Totally. And this is what I try to remind everybody that, like, and you've heard me say it on this show, on this platform. Your listeners have heard me talk about, like, hey, I never really poo-poo an individual's performance or how they are as a player, because, like, they're still a person, right? They're still people, and they're just at levels that we could never dream of in their given profession. I think what's eating at me is I just, like, take a look around, like, at the world around us, and, like, maybe I'm more sensitive about it because of my children and how I want to raise them. Is it takes less energy to be kind than it does to be an absolute freaking monster. And some of these
Yes.
people are just absolute
Yeah.
monsters. And you hit the nail right on the head. You would never speak that way if you saw that person face to face. So if you're going to come with that courage, carry it in all walks of life, right? Like, everywhere you are. If you're going to be that person, be it all the time. Don't be an internet troll. You are the bottom of the barrel, in my opinion. And I just think that's why I'm sensitive about it. Like, there's so much wrong with what we do every day. Like, I hope you guys see it when Steph and I, like, you see Steph shows throughout the week. I get to do it with her on Monday. It's about having fun. We joke, we laugh, we lift each other up. Like, I genuinely consider Steph a friend in my life, and we met through this show. Like, that's what it's about, people. Like, pick each other up. You can have your opinion, and please share
Right.
it. Just be mindful of how and what you are saying. Golden rule, people. Treat people the way that you want to be treated. You would never want anybody saying those things about you. It's just that simple. It's that simple.
Absolutely. Amen.
Sorry, Steph.
I'm
Thank you for giving me that floor
No,
on
look,
that.
I'm glad that like you felt so passionate about that subject to bring it on to the show. And yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything that you had to say. And it was a great topic, especially like in the off season right now. Like it doesn't always have to be about football.
BA.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be about BA and that drama. Um, absolutely. Anytime you want to talk about anything besides that, I'm all ears. But, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I know a lot of you were agreeing with what we were saying there as well. So I know we got some upstanding listeners here in the chat, and the audio listeners as well. Appreciate all of you guys. Make sure you like this video if you haven't yet. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Hit that notification bell if you want to know when we go live. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. And follow the podcast so you know when we go live and you get those notifications. Always appreciate that. Weston, appreciate you for joining me on another Monday and talking about all the BA things, because at this point it's starting to feel like a job. But it's fun when we get to talk about it together. So
Yeah,
appreciate you, man. And
appreciate you.
all of you, have a good rest of your Monday, folks. Peace.